announcing that there would be an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. And weirdly enough, you seem to be attacked from all sides on this. I think it's 100% in order. And tell us what you're thinking.
Well, I'll tell you, it's just think in the last months what we have learned, okay? If you take these very serious, incredible allegations into President Biden's conduct, okay, it really paints a picture of a culture of corruption, all right? You first know that the president lied to the American public. He said he had no dealings with his son's business. We now know from his son's partner that he called in to these conference calls. He went to dinners where the family got a Porsche afterwards and millions of dollars. You got $20 million in payments directly to the Biden family. They created these shell companies which had credit cards. We don't know what the credit cards paid. Did they pay the president's expenses? You have an FBI informant who alleges that the Bidens got a bribe and said you'll never find it because of shell companies. You have now he uses pseudonyms where he says he didn't work in his son's business, but in this, when he was vice president, they're sending emails to him under a false name and to Hunter to talk about his conversation with the Ukraine president. You have the president, at the time the vice president, claiming that he held up $1 billion to change the prosecutor, $1 billion of American taxpayer money to make Ukraine fire their prosecutor. And now we've learned from the business partner that sat on Burisma's board with Hunter Biden that they were getting a lot of pressure. We also have an email that says a staff member with the vice president sending an email to a business partner in the firm of Hunter Biden saying the vice president has signed off on the Burisma talking points. So you have all this, plus you have now an administration that uses their government to give special deals to their family. Now, these are all allegations, but I think we have a right, the American public, to know what's true or not. Impeachment inquiry gives us the power to get those documents to know what's right and what's wrong.
I think there's a lot of confusion, Mr. Speaker. The Constitution came before any federal criminal code. There was no federal criminal code. High crimes and misdemeanors actually has nothing to do with an actual crime that has to be proven. High crimes and misdemeanors is a determination made by the House of Representatives. It doesn't mean nothing, but it doesn't mean what so many people. Where's the evidence that he took money? Lots of crimes, by the way, are committed without taking money. A lot of co-conspirators don't take money. For instance, his son violated FARA. FARA is a very ambiguous law. You don't have to take one penny. You don't even have to represent another country for the purpose of gaining them any profit or anything. It's just that you represent a country informally or formally. And the idea that Joe Biden didn't know with all those phone calls, Mr. Speaker, that his son wasn't representing somebody on the other end of the line, whether it's a communist Chinese operative or Ukrainian operative or Russian operative or God knows. And by the way, most of this wasn't done with our allies. It seems to all have been done with our enemies. The fact is, you can be a co-conspirator in that. That's not a specific intent crime, in my view. You either fill out the damn forms that's required in FARA or you don't. And if you're helping your son have all this access and so forth, and you've been in the federal government almost half a century, and you're aware of FARA, and Republicans are being prosecuted for FARA, and you're making it possible for your son. I'm just saying from my perspective, that's a potential co-conspirator. Not one dime is passed to the President of the United States. But let me ask you this, not the lecture. Let me ask you this. Would this inquiry include, as you kind of touched on, the role of the Department of Justice, the Attorney General of the United States, their subordinates in really covering this up, preventing the appointment of a special counsel, and using this deal with Hunter Biden to try and protect his father?
Exactly, because that is corruption. I mean, look, to me, there are three main areas that when you look at this, it's abuse of power, it's obstruction, and it's corruption. Tell me this. How can a federal government investigating Hunter Biden allow the statute of limitations to run out? You've got the IRS coming in telling us They would never allow that. These are the most egregious things that he had done, but they just let it run out knowingly. Would any other family get that provision? Mm-hmm. Think about,
isn't it amazing
would
that,
you?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. And isn't it amazing, Mr. Speaker, that in every instance, decisions were made to protect Hunter Biden and his father? Every single one was made. It took a judge to uncover that. It took IRS whistleblowers. It's taken some FBI whistleblowers. It's just an amazing thing. And there's no special counsel. Everybody in the world knows there's corruption through and through here, except the Washington, D.C. media, the Democrat Party, and a few of your Republicans like Ken Buck. Other than that, the whole world sees it.
Exactly. Look, who gets to go to dinner with their son and they get a new Porsche, or an oligarch's wife sends you $3.5 million? If you, and remember what the business partner said Hunter Biden was selling, the brand. Mm-hmm. The brand. So if you knowingly help sell the brand and 9 of your family members get paid that don't have anything to do with it, would that not be corruption in some way? You knowingly are helping selling the brand as your position in office. Remember, when he was vice president, the shell company families got 16 of the 17 payments.
Mm-hmm. And now one of the kids mentioned it to granddad, to their father. Now one.
Well, he never talked about it. Remember, so these emails, I don't know what's going on. 5,400 emails using some pseudo name. You've got Hunter Biden that's being CC'd along with the Vice President Joe Biden by his staff. Here's the schedule tomorrow, and this is the conversation you're going to have with the Ukraine president. Why is he signing off on talking points? Why are they giving the Vice President talking points?
And if you think your son did nothing wrong, why would you care if he spoke to you?
Exactly.
He can speak to you about everything. Dad, I had to deal with this guy, this guy in China. He's part of the Chinese communist regime. Okay, son, good job. I mean, if there's nothing wrong with what Hunter Biden did, why wouldn't he talk to his father?
Exactly. And why would he go on these 12 trips on the government plane with the vice president? Is that selling the brand? Why wouldn't he just want to give us these documents to clear everything up? Time is on his side, because as he got to use the government and wait 5 years, his tax provisions go away. Mm-hmm. He tries to get some sweetheart deal. And remember, one thing you'll learn, Mark, is we wouldn't know any of this had we not won the majority. We never knew about the shell companies. We never knew about the 1023 with the FBI informant. We would never know the IRS agents coming forward saying he's being treated differently. And then from the very beginning, we said you needed a special counsel. The attorney general said no, Weiss could do anything he wants. Well, we found out later, no, when he tried to prosecute, he couldn't. When he wanted to be special prosecutor, he couldn't. Then after he made that sweetheart deal that the judge threw out, they rewarded him and put him as special prosecutor. Is to deny us for knowing any information? I mean, the American public deserve and have a right to know these answers. So all we're saying is make Congress strong enough that can get these documents that tells what's true and what's not.
When Nancy Pelosi triggered an investigation, impeachment inquiry, the first one against Donald Trump, at that point, did she take a vote of the House of Representatives?
She did not. Think of everything that Nancy Pelosi did to change the rules of the House. All I'm doing is following Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
Joe Biden said that was the right way to do it. Every Democrat defended it from Raskin on in. So why would they be opposed now?
And the second impeachment of Donald Trump, was there even a hearing? Was there even an inquiry?
No. They went straight to a vote.
So now they're very meticulous on what they demand, aren't they? You're just using their precedent. In fact, you're being nicer to them than they are, because you're not going to a straight vote. You're at least having an inquiry, and most of it's going to be open and notorious, as we say.
Yeah, there's nothing. The only reason we moved, it's a natural step. The only people who have continued their story to be exactly the same is the IRS whistleblowers. The president's story. Now, what happens with all the president's staff? Were they being advised to tell us, America, the wrong stories? And think about this. Remember how far they'll go. Then, before he became Secretary of State, he went and got 51 people, 4 former CIA directors, all in the Intel Committee, to tell the American public that this laptop is a lie. And you know what they did? They used the mainstream media to agree with it and shut it down. Well, now we find out that is true. And if you read through some of the things that are said in that laptop, paying the big guy, complaining Hunter Biden about having to share his money with the big guy.
Now, as I understand it, you have 3 chairmen, House Ways and Means. You got the Oversight Committee, you have the Judiciary Committee. These men have been conducting really remarkable investigations. And it's on their say-so, you pretty much have waited until they gather enough information to justify an inquiry. You're trying to do this in a way where when you go to court, you can get the information you want because you're familiar with the precedent when it comes to the courts and Congress versus the executive branch. Here's what I don't understand. And I'm trying to understand the guy. You're under attack tonight by Matt Gaetz because he says too little, too late. What in the world is he talking about? Do you know? I don't understand it.
I don't know either, because I think one thing that Matt's upset about, Matt has an old ethics complaint in the last Congress, and he thinks I somehow can influence that. I can't influence the independent committee. I'm not going to. Matt goes out and is working with Swalwell to try to partner together to have a motion to vacate. Well, you know what? I'm not going to put Swalwell back on the Intel committee.
Now tell everyone what a motion to vacate means.
A motion to vacate is trying to remove the current speaker, right?
So he's working with Swalwell on that?
Yeah, if you watch Twitter, he's been tweeting with Swalwell saying, you know, I only need a few Republicans and if you can whip the Democrats, we can get Kevin out. I don't quite understand that, right? But, you know, everybody has.
Well, why doesn't he run for speaker? See how many votes he gets.
Yeah, that's true. Remember,
I'm being quite serious.
Rounds, he didn't get one. Exactly.
I mean, you and I don't always have to agree, but that doesn't mean I want to lop your head off.
No.
I mean,
remember,
I don't.
We got 91% of the conference. I won the vote in there. That's like a primary, you know?
Well, you have such
and
a
look
small
at what
majority.
We've been able to do. Think about what we've been able to do in changing Congress, opening it up, right? Back to the people's house, making members actually come to vote, finding all this information, which we would never have found. We continue to go again and again.
Can I hold you over? I got to take a hard break.
Sure.
Can I hold you over a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah.
Because I see one of the things he talks about is no vote on term limits. You know, here's the thing. The Supreme Court has said when it comes to states, you can't set term limits. The limits have to be those that are in the Constitution, nothing more, nothing less. That's why they had to pass an amendment to limit the president's terms, because Congress can't do by statute what the Constitution doesn't permit. So if you have a vote in the House on term limits, that's a nothing vote, unless you can get 2/3 there and 2/3 in the Senate. And I don't see Congress voting to limit its terms. So I'm thinking, you're going to die on that? That's a big issue? I'm just being honest. That's a non-issue, because the only way you can do that is Convention of States. You're not going to be able to do it through Congress. I want to come back to you, Mr. Speaker. I promise. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems. Listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, you
say this. You cannot put term limits in place or even a balanced budget amendment in place without two-thirds votes of both houses of Congress, which you're never going to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Matt Gaetz knows this. He said this. It's on the Convention of States website from September 30, 2019. And he said he supports Convention of States. This is the only way to achieve this.
Yeah, with Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution gives the
Article
states the power
5.
to call a
Do
convention.
you support that? Convention of States.
I support it. I support it 100%. Especially, look, states, we have shown in this country how states, conservative states, why people are moving there now. It's how to run them, how to have the freedom instead of being forced all these others. And the argument that Matt says that I haven't brought him up yet, the one thing I want to do as Speaker is bottom up. I let the committee, the members do their work. It hasn't come out of committee yet. So why can I bring it to the floor? I want to tell members what they have to do or let members have the input.
Is one of the reasons it hasn't come out of committee yet is because it's going to go nowhere and it's a showman vote? And if you really support term limits and balanced budget, you want to amend the Constitution, you're not going to get it through Congress. It has to be Article 5, the second method of amending the Constitution, correct?
Correct. It only takes 34 states to call the convention and 38 to ratify any amendments that are proposed.
Mm-hmm.
And think about the movement in this country. We're watching these states, right? We're watching what's happening in New Mexico. She's trying to go around the Constitution. I mean, this is why there's a big movement on the Articles 5 for convention.
I'm one of the big movers and shakers, me and a handful of others, and we believe this very strongly. So when I hear a politician in Washington tell the American people, we haven't had a balanced budget vote, we haven't had a term limits vote, I go, what the hell are you talking about? Now, there is a budget issue, and we're going to want to have you back to discuss this, but part of the problem you have, Mr. Speaker, is on the other side of Capitol building. You have a Republican Party in the Senate that does not want to fight. And you have Schumer, who is proposing spending bills that are enormous, that basically blow out the last agreement you made.
Yes.
And then you have on your side, you have moderates and even some liberals that you have to accommodate. You only have a 5-vote or 4-vote lead. And I say to myself, look, I want this budget slashed. And you know I want that budget slashed, Mr. Speaker. Yep. But I also want to know what my friends over there want. I can't exactly figure it out. We got one group that's talking about the border. We got another group that's talking about something else, and another. Shouldn't there at least be, Mr. Speaker, here is what we want? I can't tell what they want.
For the last 3 months. They keep changing. And we're only strong when we have 218. Remember what we were able to achieve in the debt ceiling. We cut $2.1 trillion. The senators are spending more than what the cap says you can. We are spending less, but people say you got to go further. You've got to be able to win at the end of the day. We could get border security in the battle where we're going. We could actually be able to make some cuts at the same time. Take the Pelosi policies out, right? The wokeism. But if we don't pass any bills, we can't. Remember that argument where for the last 5 years, the senators have never passed any PROPS bills. They would just do an omni. So inside the debt ceiling, I put this. If you don't pass your PROPS bills, there's a 1% cut across the board. Everybody yelled. But you know what it made it do? It made the senators actually, for the first time since I think 2018, they passed the PROPS bills out of committee. Now, the problem is that the Democrats and the Republicans voted exactly the same on that. But we now at least see what it is. And now us on the House side, we're hurting ourselves by not passing more of these bills.
You're saying bills out of V-bills, meaning bills out of these committees. And,
when we pass them out of committee, we need to pass them on the floor. And these are all lower than even the 1% cut for the CR.
You're not getting much help from the Senate, are you, sir?
It's pretty tough. Pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. They're pretty much going along with Schumer, aren't they? I don't want to get you in trouble, but isn't that pretty much part of the problem here?
Yeah, look, the House Republicans, it's going to be a fight.
Ring the bell if I'm wrong. That's all. Ring the bell.
Look, I'm not a senator. I got the House, and I got a 4-seat majority. I'm trying to do the best we can.
I understand.
For the American people.
Well, thanks for coming on. We always appreciate it, sir. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. God bless. So what did I do? Blow through 2 commercials here?